This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
What up, family and friends? I have a very special guest today, Romiza, and she is actually the first girl interviewer on Road to the Golden Door. So I'm really excited. Melissa, I met you, I think 2 years ago now. It's funny, at my house, there was like you and your team of like 80 people. We did a 7-hour freaking training all the way up to like 2 a.m. And I felt like we had a really good connection right there. And I love watching your journey and seeing where you're going and seeing how you've gotten Click to now go from a sales organization to now an EPC and doing you guys' own installs now. So I'm excited to promote you on this podcast, and I'm all for you being where you're at. And I love to see your journey. So you've been doing it for solar for 5 years now, correct?
Yeah, just coming up to 5 years.
Dude, that is awesome. I love it. You, technically speaking, so I'm going to say this. You technically would be a double Golden Door award. If the rules didn't get changed at the last minute last year, you'd be a double Golden Door award winner. But this year, you're at 180 deals, and then we're not even at the end of the year yet. Like, this is 2022. You haven't even got the award yet, but you're already at that. So I was like, yo, I got to get you on. Like, let's go. I reached out to you. I was like, yo, like, how many deals are you at? And you're like, I was like, you got a Golden Door yet? And I was like, and you're like, yeah. I was like, come on the podcast, let's go. So I'm excited to be able to dive in deep, understand, the brain of Melissa. Like, what does it look like? I've got so many amazing things to say about you as an individual, your character, your integrity, your work ethic, just the person that you are. And I love that. You're confident in who you are, which is, I wish more people would just all around, even not even in sales, would just be comfortable in their own shoes. I think identity is huge, and I know that we agree on that. But Melissa, who are you? For everybody that doesn't know who you are, who is Melissa Romiza?
Melissa Romiza is someone who does not like to lose. I have been, this past year, I think I've put a lot of time into like figuring out like who I am now. It's like who I want to be, and I just try every day to get closer to who I want to be. And I like have it written down in my book, like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I kind of just have to like look at myself in the mirror every day and be like, am I getting closer or further away from that person? And like the person I want to be is a provider. I want to be able to provide for my family, provide for my guys, my people, my friends, and just like genuinely have a heart of gold and like everything that I do with the best intentions.
Let's go. Sounds pretty dang clear to me. That's what I see in a lot of the Golden Door Award winners. The same character traits that they have clarity on where they're going and who they are, which is key. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How'd you get into door-to-door sales? And I mean, was it a LinkedIn? Did you get recruited off the streets?
Yeah.
Like, tell me about your upbringing in door-to-door.
So I was just talking to actually Taylor Armstrong over at the Solarpreneur the other day about this, because I am the anomaly. I got found off of Indeed. I failed really hard when I started, so my mom actually yelled at me one day when I dropped out of college after my dad passed, and she's like, you gotta get a real job. And I was like, oh, dang it, okay. So I get online, I get an interview for, I don't even remember what the job was, if I'm gonna be honest with you, and I woke up the next morning getting ready for this interview, and I'm like reading these Glassdoor reviews, and they're just terrible. And I'm like, I'm not going. So I'm like, I need to figure something out really fast, though, because my mom's gonna call me in 3 hours, and she's gonna ask how the interview went. So I'm like I'm on everywhere, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, whatever. And I see this link for, a solar company. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, I'll apply. And like that day I get put through like an interview process of like 3 interviews, and I get the job to work in solar, really not being, I didn't even really know much about the industry. It's not like somebody brought me in. It's not like I saw somebody, because a lot of people that are in the industry saw somebody doing it. They got brought in by them, or a friend of a friend told them about it. There's not a lot of people that are found on Indeed or ZipRecruiter that make it to Golden Door. And like that's something I'm super proud to say because I just found this on Indeed. I started with a team that didn't give me any tools, any help, any training.
Mm, mm,
Made it work at least enough for me to see success. And then I found my niche at Click, and that's kind of where I actually excelled and just kept going up and up from there. Um, so yeah, I mean, found it online, been with it for 4.5 years. I was really bad at it my first year. I didn't even, I think I made 40 grand my first year. It's like not much for, somebody that was working really, really hard for 8 months, but
right.
I've doubled my income every single year. And this year I'll quadruple my income from last year.
I love that. Um, before the show, we were talking about. Well, thank you for sharing that. But before the show, we were talking about the journey, and one of the things that I notice about you is that your people are as loyal as they're going to get. Right? There might be a bad apple here or there, but your people have stayed with you, and that's one of the cool things about like it's not the defining thing of a leader, but when you can see a leader that is in their prime and they've got people that have stayed with them for 2, 3, 4 years, um, that's a really good sign. That's like, wow, like this, you know, this is a leader worth following. This is character traits of a leader worth following. And when your team was at my house, I was like, I can tell who runs the show here, and they were just like in awe of you and loved who you were. So I want to talk about that, the journey that we were talking about earlier, like how to have success. Like if we can talk about culture and stuff like that, how to have success as a Golden Door Award winner, but then also, so first of all, you're selling a Golden Door, you're installing a Golden Door, but then you're also creating Golden Door Award winners under you and people that are making $100, $200, $300,000 a year under you, selling ethical deals and creating referral business and creating raving fans. So tell me about the journey that you said you bring your reps on. Like, tell me about that. Like, what does that even look like, practically speaking?
Yeah. So I just feel like when a lot of people get in this industry, like we're told we're 1099 reps, right? So like we're independent contractors, we're independent from everything. And actually, that couldn't be any more false. Yes, on paper it says 1099, it says independent, but everything that is not on paper about this job says like you need a family culture and a team to really like go far. Because if you
Wow.
want to go quick, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a team.
Yes.
And like I plan to go super far in this industry, and I have made sure this year to bring as many people on that journey and verbalize it to as many people as possible what I was going to do. And I feel like that's something I wasn't doing before. I was just trying to get to the top by myself, and I wasn't bringing my family, I wasn't bringing my friends, I wasn't telling them what I was doing. And that's so important. And it's made such a massive difference this year in my relationships with my family, in my relationships with my friends, with my relationships with my reps. It's been absolutely massive. And the thing is I lead from the front always, and I show my guys what's possible, and they're able to mimic what I do because I make everything I do so simple and so duplicatable that a 5-year-old could follow me and do it. And I feel like that's just the most important thing is just like bring as many people, verbalize it. Verbalizing it's huge. Tell them what you're going to do and stick true to what you say you're going to do. That's why I have loyalty, is because when I say I'm going to do something, I don't flake. I don't come up with an excuse why I can't do it. I make it happen no matter what, unless I die. And I'm still here living, so like I haven't gone back on my word ever. I
I love
take
that.
care of my guys like to the core, not just at work, but I like check in on their relationships as well, and making sure they're bringing their family and their friends too. So everything that we're doing is we're not just building a sales rep, we're really building the whole person. Financially, we're making sure their relationships are good, we're making sure their work life's good, and we're making sure that their balance is good, because this job does come with a balance, but an imbalance, but there's also parts of it that you need to learn to balance to make sure that imbalance doesn't take over your life.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. I'm going to get a lot out of this podcast. I'm excited for this one, dude. Um, let's talk about that imbalance that you're talking about. What are you seeing? Um, let's give the 10,000 foot overview in Melissa's organization. Like, what are you seeing in your own organization that is creating imbalance within your reps or your people?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest imbalance for people is the transition to the many parts of this job. So like with a transition comes a massive imbalance, and people are like sitting there like not sure how to balance it out. So like they move from a setter to a closer, and they're like, "Oh my God, now I have to knock and close my appointments, and I have to work till 9, and I have to start at 9, and I don't know what I'm doing. So before I could just work 5 hours a day and set it and forget it." So they have to find that balance, and it's so imbalanced at the beginning, and people completely imbalance themselves because it's so exciting, and then when they hit their numbers, that balance comes back down. Now they're trying to like balance this balance beam the whole time, instead of like making sure they have a routine and they've worked these things out, so they don't get so imbalanced that they burn themselves out after their first month of going to closing, or like their first month going into managing, or their first month becoming a mentor. There is a proper balance in everything, no matter how imbalanced things get. You just always have to have this like equilibrium somewhere where you don't burn yourself out.
I love that topic of burnout, and I'm trying to explore it. So a lot of listeners, the listeners here that are Golden Door Award winners, they suffer a lot of times with really the potential or like getting close to burnout. Now, I'm a big proponent of I don't believe in burnout, but when you have that imbalance where things in your life are not living, as one of our other podcast guests, Ashton, says, like in a harmonistic lifestyle, or a close friend of mine, David Meltzer, would say is like you have to have harmony in your life. Like balance is not true, but I know what you're saying. Like I know, just like it's all or nothing, right? There's got to be some sort of like level there, which is balance and which is harmony. It's all the same thing. It's just how you're defining it, and you're meaning balance as harmony. But what a dude, what how do we solve the problem of burnout? Like what do you think? Why do you think people are burning out? Is it because of the imbalance? They're trying to do too much? Like what is your definition of burnout? What is your idea around burnout?
My idea around burnout is like there's three categories in your life that you need to take care of to never burn out. And like one is
Let's
like
go.
spiritual, emotional, relationships. And if like all of those are imbalanced, your work is going to be imbalanced. You need
Wow.
to like balance those other things outside of your life, because that's going to find balance in your work life. And like if you aren't going to balance any of that stuff and you're just going to run at this wall as hard as you can and say, I'm going to do this until I fall to the ground, you're not going to want to do this job anymore. And the people that make it in door to door for 10 years, they find that balance. Or if they can't, they find a mentor that teaches them to find balance, because I didn't have any. Shout out to Danny Pessy for like telling me I need to chill out sometimes and like find that balance, because I'm starting to go off the rails. And he didn't want to see me fall or freak out or emotionally lose myself. And I think that that's super important. A lot of people think that getting a mentor is like overrated, or it's not worth the money. It's so expensive. I can't pay $3,000 a month for that mentor. And what people fail to realize is how much wealth, not just in dollars, but in so many other spots in your life, that mentor is going to bring you, that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. So
Yeah.
that's been huge.
I love Danny Pessy. He's such a good dude. And I
Such a
love I
good
love
guy.
seeing his journey and his ability to how much he's giving back, to the industry. I love Danny. He's a good dude. Um, the three areas or three buckets you said, relationships. What was the other two?
Like your emotional level, your relationship, and then I forget what I said the other one. Spiritual.
Spiritual. There you go.
So like whether
Yeah,
that's
I said
God
it
or
out of order.
meditation or whatever. Like I'm not a big like church person, but like I definitely
Yeah.
meditate with my team every Monday to release
Wow.
all of the bullshit basically, and
Yeah.
like think about like what we want to manifest, and like also giving that energy out to everybody else in the room, because like we're creating something that we want to share.
Dude, I'd love to get in that later on. I'd love to understand more, as I'm on my spiritual journey. I'd love to understand, how and what's working, what's not working. And I know that the listeners would love to try to understand again. Either they're a Golden Door Award winner or they're an aspiring Golden Door Award winner. They're at 60, 70 deals a year. And just literally the edge could be literally the motivational side. But being imbalanced in the spiritual, emotional, and relational side of it, like you said, in those three buckets, I totally agree with you. Like if you can't have those in line, like good luck, Chuck. You're basically might as well clock out and go home.
Yeah.
Huh. Then tell me tell me about some of the biggest hurdles. Let's just transition really quick. Tell me about some of the biggest hurdles that you've ran into. Let's start in the early part of your career, and then I want to go into your Golden Door years. In the early
Yeah.
part of your career, you said you made about 40,000, 30, 40, 30 to $50,000 in your first year. Obviously, we know now that you said your mom, right?
Well, yeah, my dad passed
Your,
away, so it's just my mom.
so your mom was the one that was like reaching out to you, was like freaking out and was
Yeah.
like Melissa, you have a job yet, right?
Yep.
Sounds like something my mom would do too. Bless her soul. Um, so tell me about some of the hurdles that you ran into in the beginning of your career. Like, did you believe in yourself? Did you have, were you already into personal development? Were you already into, your spiritual side? Like, where were you? Where was Melissa 5 years ago? Where were you at before in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, my first year was definitely just like a going through the motions thing. Like, I didn't have any of that stuff figured out, nor was I putting in enough work. Now seeing what this job takes, like you can work 40 hours a week, but if you're not doing the most productive thing at all times, you're really not working those full 40 hours. So I was just kind of going through the motions and I was nervous to ask for help. I was really scared. I was the only girl in my organization, so it was really hard to like ask some people for help, and my managers never knocked doors, so I couldn't ask my managers to knock because they don't knock, they just take appointments. So that was really tough for me, that if I wanted help I had to go with somebody that like had the same level of experience as me, which like just very much so confused me. So I just like kept doing the same thing expecting a different result. I stayed with the same company expecting a different result, and then after a while, like, my first year was really tough, and then into my second year I finally actually found somebody in my company I could idolize. His name was Roman Miller, and he owns his own company now in Florida. And that was the guy that I grabbed onto. And I can truly say, if it wasn't for Roman, I don't think I'd be on this podcast with you today. He's the one who truly saw me. He believed in me. He's the one who's like, let's get you into closing. And all the other closers like, you're gonna let her close? Like, no, she like she's supposed to be a setter. Like, they very much so like pushed me down. And I didn't know at the time I was being pushed down because I just didn't know what was available in this workspace. So my first year I was just really confused, and then once I found somebody to idolize and someone to hold on to, that's when it started to like kind of click, and that's where the shift started.
Interesting. Uh, were you open to somebody? Like, when was like the tipping point for that? Was there a breakthrough moment? Like, when did you realize that, like, because it's obvious that you've pretty much always been probably competitive in your life, but what was the tipping point, or what was that moment that you're like, yo, I need to find somebody that's like, can teach me how to do this? Because obviously, like
Well,
you said you didn't get any. You probably got as much as I did. A piece of paper that had a script on it.
yeah, I didn't even get that actually. I literally,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
I got 45 minutes on the doors with a kid, and like then they sent me out on my own, and I didn't even have sales rabbit. They were like, write down your doors. I was like, okay, this is really weird. But when I started seeing Roman do high numbers, and it's like the same way my guys look at me. Like I see so much of me in my guys because of the way I looked at Roman. I was like, this guy's doing 30 deals a month. Like I'm gonna grab on, and he's willing to help, and he still knocks doors. He's a manager. He knocks doors. Like I'm gonna grab on, and I'm gonna hold on so tight that this guy's gonna try to shake me off, and I'm gonna hold on with the grip of God. He's gonna like have to taser me to get him off of him. And I like just followed everything he did. Like anything he would say, I would say the same things. Like when I would go to his closes, like I would pick him apart and I'd be like, hey, why'd you do that? Hey, you lied that you have a snake. Why'd you say you have a snake? And he's like, because I'm relating with these people, like the little things. And I just started taking so many things. And then he left my company, or went to like a different office in Las Vegas. And that's when I was like, all right, I need to step up now. Because like Roman's not here, someone's got to step up. So I did it. I started stepping up. I was putting in like 12 self-gen deals, like second month closing, no help, no shadows, no nothing, which was a big deal in our company. And I was a girl. And
Yeah.
like, I just felt like no one saw me. Like I felt like I was invisible. And that was when I was like, I'm going to go find somebody who doesn't think I'm invisible. So that's when I found Click, and they like put me in the limelight. And like, that's when I had to start like taking on massive responsibility. Like being in the limelight sounds great, but also it comes with great responsibility. Like how you look on Instagram now is important. How you talk to people is important. When you Google your name, what's on there is important. And that's when I had to start becoming a role model for people. And that was my shifting point, as I was never seen as a role model. And as soon as I was, everything had to change. I had to change the way I lived, I had to start changing to become the person I wanted to be.
That's a really, wow. That's a freaking, dude, if you didn't, you gotta have to like rewind that and re-listen to that because that was changing to be the person that you needed to be so that you would be a leader worth following, someone that would actually look up to you and you realize that your credibility, that you're, wow.
Yeah, and I took everything that my managers didn't do at my last company, and I was like, I'll do everything they didn't do, but there's also things that they did that I'll never do. Like I remember, I'll preach on this till the day I die, but when I was a setter with them, they'd always be like, pictures on the doors. Who's on the doors? Like pictures, pictures every single day. Like you got to put a selfie when you got there, selfie midday, selfie like. But they would never put a selfie or knock doors, and I was like, if I ever ask my guys to do selfies, I'm not even gonna do it. I'm just gonna take selfies. I'm never gonna ask for it. I'm just gonna take a bunch of selfies while I'm out here working and doing the work instead of expecting people to go out there and do the work and get me paid. I'm gonna show my guys that I don't need appointments. I'm gonna go get mine. You guys can give all your appointments to all the other closers. I'll still go get mine. And I think that that's been super important too, to building an organization where there is no level where no one knocks doors. Melissa's the regional director of sales. She still knocks doors. Like no one's too good to knock doors. And I hate organizations that like create these like positions where it's like, now you're too good to knock doors. You can't knock them anymore. Like we're putting you on the shelf over here of like no more door knocking. And it's like, how are you going to raise other door knockers if you're not going to do it yourself? Because your guys will never do what you will not do.
Correct. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I love that. One of my managers, I felt the same way, and that's I would do the same thing. I saw in certain offices where it was like a lot of like, whipping the horse, and I'm like, what? Like, this isn't like a leader worth following. Like, I wanted to. My first experience was was when one of my coaches says we're going on a 12-mile run. And he said, I'm running with you. And I was like, I've never ran past, I think, maybe a mile before. You want me to run 12 with you guys? And it might have been like 11 something, but like I was like, and this was wrestling practice. And I'm like, bro, I didn't sign up for this. But it was really interesting. And that's, I'm talking about it, 13 years later, 14 years later? Like that, I was like, whoa. That coach said we're running 12 miles. And he ran with us. That right there. I was like, yo, that is something that I needed. I never forgot that. And I think that the phrase that I wrote down right there when you said that, I said, when it comes to culture, so goes the leader, so goes the culture. So one of my first managers at Solar City would take pictures of himself out on doors on Saturday, and he ran the #1 office in all of Solar City for like almost every month out of the year. And this dude would still be out there Saturday morning, like knocking doors, right? And he wasn't too good to knock on doors, but he literally had like no time to knock on doors. Like we made it so that the dude couldn't knock on doors. Like he was working his butt off for us, and we were all making more money than him probably, but still he was obviously looking at that time corporate to move up in the corporate world. But yeah, I thought that, and that also was another thing that made a lot of sense to me too, where it was like, yo, like if Adam's going to take a picture of himself on the doors, like I got to make sure I'm out there too. Like he can run the whole office, have a family. I think dude, at the time I had like 4 kids. He has like probably 6 now. Married. I'm like, I'm not even married. I don't even got a girlfriend. I got nothing. I don't even have a dog yet. I'm solo dolo. Like there ain't no excuse why I can't be doing more. So goes the leader. So goes the culture. I love that you said that about sending pictures. Like if you want things to get done, you lead by example, and then the ones that want to win will start doing the same thing, because they say, I'm a big proponent of that. Success leaves clues. So if you look at somebody's life, which is why again I wanted to get you on, so that we can talk about how not just how a female top performer goes, because I don't want to necessarily label you like, oh yeah, and she's female, like you got some special privilege. Like, no, you're just a badass top performer. Like, I look at you as equal. I think you belong right where you're at. Like you're on top. You're probably gonna hit 200 freaking 60 installs by the end of the year now. I think you belong right where you're at. So I love your mindset when it comes to your culture. And like I said, I was just like shocked. I wasn't shocked, I guess, but I was just like stunned. I was like, yo, these people love Melissa, dude. Like, what? They're like, yeah, you got to talk to Melissa. They were like trying to like, there's so many people in my like little like living room there. They're like trying to get me to like get to you. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll get to Melissa. Bring me to her then.
Yeah,
Like,
I walked in
yeah,
late and everyone's just like, "Er," and you're like, oh, dang it. Everyone just noticed I walked in late. Like,
yeah. Because you're probably closing the deal. Um,
well, I was taking some of the reps out for dinner that we're producing, and I was like, dang.
right,
And
right.
then we did the training with you, and I was like, we got to cut dinner short. We're like grabbing the check as
Hell
they're
yeah.
ordering their entrees. I'm like, yeah, once those drop, can you bring the check? Like,
Hell yeah. Hell
so, but
yeah.
yeah, it was a good time. I missed that. We learned a lot at your house. You gave us a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that was really fun. It was long too. I was like, dude, and I had just got off of a plane earlier that day, went out and knocked with your team that
Yep.
day, and I was like, yo, you guys should just have everybody at the house. Like, screw it, bring them over. Like, let's just do it. Let's just send it. That was the
Yep.
full send year. I was like, just send it, bro. Send it. Um, tell me this. What is in regards to in regard because I'm trying to talk about your hurdles, right? So like what I want people to understand this, like everyone wants to be a beast, but no one wants to, do what a beast has to do when it's time to shine, right? Everyone wants to have a great meal, no one wants to wash the dishes. Like
Yep.
everyone wants to be a Golden Door Award winner, but putting in the work and being consistent, not even just the work. Melissa, like you see tons of people in door to door that have great work ethics, but dealing and working through absorbing all of the hurdles is what separates you from the pack. And I want to talk about that. So what do you think about being a Golden Door Award winner, since you're technically a double Golden Door winner now? What do you think people are not saying about being on top?
I mean, a lot of people don't talk about like the little things that we do outside of work. Everyone talks about their work schedule. Everyone talks about their routine. Everybody talks about their presentation. Nobody talks about what it takes mentally outside of work in the morning and at night to make sure you can continuously put those numbers in. Because I was
I
on
got
live last night
goosebumps,
and Taylor
bro.
said,
Goosebumps.
yeah, anybody can do 30 deals in a month, but not anybody can be consistently doing 30 deals a month. And that takes doing the right stuff outside of work in the morning and at night. And if you skip those and you just focus on what you're doing at work, I promise you won't hit the numbers, because this job, this career requires you to be firing on all cylinders, not just the work cylinders. It's also the outside life cylinder. Are you doing the right things at home? Are you instilling the right habits? Are you habit stacking healthily? Like what are you doing to keep going? Because if you don't do that, maintaining is exhausting. Building is energizing. Like you
Wow.
constantly need to be building and moving to the next thing. So that's the biggest thing is like stop focusing on what you need to do at work. Start focusing on the right things you need to do outside of work, because that's directly going to affect and correlate with what you do at work. Like I don't party. I don't go to the clubs. I don't really drink unless it's like my birthday or I'm celebrating something. My friend's like, we're going to go to the bar last night. I said, that's nice. I'm going to go have a cup of water where I'm going to be home by midnight because I have to be up at my exact time to make sure my morning routine gets done. I'm going to push off my sleep so I can catch up with people I haven't seen in a while. But I'm not even drinking. They're all at the bar having a drink, and I'm sitting there drinking water. And I'm like, all right, got to leave in 15 minutes, guys. Like, like it's staying committed to what you're going to do, but also being disciplined, because believe me, it's not easy not having, like, not being with my family as much or taking the vacations that I want, but it's the temporary imbalance to sacrifice who I need and want to be in 10 years. If I don't make that sacrifice now, I'll never be the Melissa I want to be in 2032.
Does that so the it seems to me like you're motivated by, now hear me out. You're motivated by regret. By that I mean you would regret not putting in the time at 20 something, right? At 28 today,
Yeah.
you would regret at 38 not putting in the most amount of effort at 28 today. So you're motivated by regret of not doing more. Now,
100%.
where does that destroy you at though? Like, I don't want to transition to where I'm about to go yet, but I want to know, like, where do you think that that's sustainable? Because talk to other high performers right now, we all feel that same way.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of, like, maybe the emotional side of it really quickly. Like,
Yeah.
how,
I
tell me
I
about that.
don't
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's sustainable if you properly bring people on your journey. Like
Ah,
I don't think it's sustainable if you try to make your way to this person without bringing people with you. So like I bring my family on
hell
my
yeah.
journey. Like my family knows my journey. My partners know my journey. My roommates, my best friends, they know my journey. I take them with me every step of the way to help me sustain that. Because if I don't and I just like lose connection, I'm not making phone calls, I'm not checking in on my mom, I'm not checking on my brothers and sisters, I'm not
Oh,
doing those things. Yeah, you're right. It isn't sustainable, and I'm gonna burn myself out. And actually, I'm gonna look back and hate myself for all the work I put in because I lost those relationships. So what I'm doing is I'm maintaining my relationships by bringing them on the journey with me. And that is so important. So if you're listening to this and you aren't bringing people on your journey, if your mom doesn't know what time you're working, she doesn't know about the competition you're in, bring her with you. Bring her with you.
well, that's that's so key. That is so key to have it living a sustainable lifestyle in this. Were were you were you at Door to Door Con when Ed Milet spoke?
No, last year was my first door to door con. That was like my paradigm shift, man. That's like what really turned it on was me talking a fat game to everybody. And then I swallowed my words as soon as they gave Sully the mic. I went to every female. I went up to every girl. What's your best month? What's your best month? What's your best month? What's your best month? Everybody. Lindsay, Alex Hall, Brittany, just so many people, any organization. If I saw a girl and they were talking solar, I literally ran over to ask her what her best month was. And I was like, I got this in the bag. I'm going to be the number one female solar sales rep in the United States this year. Sully goes up to grab her reward. They go, Sully, what's your best month? She goes 63. And I go, okay. Uh, I really got to go all in this year, So like, I'm not going to look back on this year and regret it because I gave it my all this year.
I love that. So we won't lead to burnout so long as we bring people on the journey. I think you're right there. I think you're 100% spot on there where you said that if in other words, you're more other people focused, other people centric than doing it for you. And I think that's a key player there to eliminate, or maybe not eliminate completely, but to minimize the exposure to burnout if you're doing it with others or for others, which
Yep.
is why your culture is breeding other badass sales individuals and just
Hmm.
monsters. The journey without other people. I think you said the quote in the beginning of this. I forget it. It was I've heard it recently actually. It's like you can you can go far as an individual, but you can go 10 times further as a group or as a team.
You can go fast. Yeah, you can go fast alone, but you can go further as a team.
There it is. Yeah, like that I heard that and I was like, oh, I'm very a team person. Melissa, I'm very a team person, and I know that when I'm not around people and like people that I'm either pouring into within either my coaching stuff or like just in within my own companies, like if I'm not around people, I literally start to notice myself start going a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Hmm.
I'm very bringing people on the journey as well, and I love that about you. I think that's a key. So anybody that's listening to this, I think you need to take that, you know, check that, check yourself to see if you are bringing people on your journey. Everyone that's, for instance, a lot of the people here that are married, right? It's like, yo, like, is your spouse, significant other, like, are they on the journey with you? Like, do you not want the best marriage relationship that you have with your significant other? Like, are you not bringing your partner on that journey? Like, are they in the back? Are they in the back of the car? Or are they right there with you? Like, I think that's key. Like, because you said back to the three buckets, your spiritual, emotional, relational. Um, yeah, dude. Like, without having a solid foundation for relationships, I think we're innately, even if you're like introverted, I think even innately we are relational beings, um, and we need that. So I love watching your journey and everyone that's around you's journey, because I know where you're headed. You're spending a lot of money on yourself and personal development, which I'd love to talk about later. But you spend a lot of money on personal development. You're destroying it, and you're like, yo, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna be the best, number one female athlete in the whole entire industry. I just, yeah, and I see it because it's in your day to day. Tell me a little bit about, really quickly, your. Let's go back to the bar situation. Why, or because you see that a lot. Like, a lot of teams that go like on blitzes. I deal with this all the time in coaching. I'm like, dude, like, you can't be up till 1 a.m. when you're on a 10-day blitz. What do you think this is?
No.
You're on a 10-day blitz. You get 20 days off, fool. What are you doing? Like, you should, maybe if you're up destroying hood, or like depicting whatever, like, like about the hood or about something, but you guys are out partying. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not the don't do drugs guy. Don't smoke weed. Don't drink alcohol guy. I'm like, cool, bro. Do whatever you want to do. But like, if that's going to slow you down from hitting your goals and bringing other people on your journey and you making them in a better position in their life, bro, like, you're selfish, bro. Like, what are you talking about? So what about this bar situation? Like, I want to know more about that. Like, when did that stop? Did you ever used to party like that? Like, were you a partier?
Yeah, no, my first year in solar, I definitely went out like all the time. Like, all my friends were finishing college, so like I was still going out with them.
You were
I
a
was trying
baller,
to like,
entrepreneur. You're like, yeah, I got my own job. I make my own schedule now.
yeah, and that was the problem, is I made my own schedule. That was the problem. There's a lot of problems in our industry. First thing is how much we get paid. It's the biggest problem. Because what happens as margins goes up, sales go down. People hit their sales goal quicker by getting less sales, so they stop. It's a problem. But that was my kryptonite, is like, I wanted to have the best social life. Like, I always wanted to have the best social life, and I wanted that for such a long time. And then what I realized when it took me probably about a year and a half in this industry when I actually switched to Click, pretty much, is, who do I want to be? Not just in a week, not in a month, not in a year. What about 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Like, really actually like putting that on paper, like writing it down. Like, what house do you want? What car do you want? Do you want a family? Where would you want to have your houses? Like, really get clear about what you want, and then decide if your actions that you make that day get you closer or further away from that person. And like, every day I work to get closer to that person, every single day. And I really, really take time to reflect on so many more things. Like, I used to not reflect at all, but I try to reflect on everything, good or bad. Why did I get that outcome? How could I have the outcome that I wanted? What could I do differently? I try not to spend a lot of time thinking about what I did wrong. I just try to spend a lot of time on what I did right and getting really good at the things I did right. Because if I sit and worry about everything I did wrong, I'm just going to be upset. So that's been a huge thing for me. But yeah, I used to party. I don't ever go out. The last time I went out and partied this whole year was my birthday, and I went out with all of my solar friends. Everybody that helped me get where I was. Roman came out. Roman flew in from Florida. Hadn't seen the guy in years because he owns his own solar company. Super busy. He came in, and like, that was something to celebrate. Like, my day of birth. Had I not been brought to this earth, a lot of those people that were sitting at that table wouldn't be sitting together, wouldn't have met, and like, I was able to connect so many people from different companies, like, regardless of the logo, we all were on the same journey. And like, finding more people that are on a similar journey to you is going to help you get a lot farther, a lot faster. If you have this like crazy journey and you're still hanging out with people that like are partying and drinking and smoking and like don't have a vision, they, are still working their dead end job down at the, restaurant, working in the kitchen, like, you got to decide, like, there's going to be a gap between you and your friends, and either you're going to get closer to their gap or they're going to be forced to get closer to yours. So like, power is proximity. Proximity is power, whatever way you say that. But like, I think I just started spending a lot of time with people that had what I wanted. And that was on my goals list this year, after seeing all of you guys at Door to Door Con. Like, all of the successful guys were hanging out together. And like, I saw that. I wasn't blind to it. And I wrote that in my book. It's on my first page on Door to Door Con. Hang out with more successful people. If they are not successful, and in my eyes, I don't want to be like them, I will not spend my time with them. And it sucks. Sometimes you have to cut people out of your life that you like really love and really care about. But like you really need to like start looking at those relationships and understanding in what way are they serving you. Like, are they really serving that person that you want to be in 5 to 10 years? Or are they just serving your party life? Or like they just come over whenever you ask because they're always free and it just feels good to be around people. Like figure out who those people are in your life, and as much as it sucks, get them out. Get them out. I think
Yeah,
once I started
I
cutting
think
people
that,
off,
no, go
yeah, I
ahead.
was gonna say once I started like realizing those relationships and becoming aware of them and like cutting those things out, I started noticing myself changing a lot more and holding true to the things I said I was gonna do and like getting closer to the Melissa I want to be in 10 years.
I mean, it's very similar to so goes the leader, so goes the culture. Whether the culture is leading them to light or leading them to darkness, like you are, like I don't care. That's a universal law that you are the sum of the five people you hang out with most. Whether that's whatever you watch on your TV shows, you become like more like that main character or that character that you vibe with most. Like you become like them. Whoever you surround yourself with, like you said, proximity is power. Eh, yeah, like, show me your five best friends. I'll show you where you'll be at in 5 years. Whether that's in relationships, their emotional side, their spiritual side, their financial side, right? Their career side, right? Their giving side. Like show me, give me the W-4, the W-9 of how much you're the five closest people you hung out with, what they gave last year. I guarantee you gave about the middle of that too. Proximity is power. Yeah, you wrote that down. Tell me, walk me through that. You're at the OrderCon, you saw a bunch of people hanging out, like successful people that you perceived as successful, probably were, but they might not have been. I don't know. Um, Tell me what that made you feel like, Melissa. What did you feel like when you saw that?
I feel like I wanted to be in that group. And I was like, how can I get to that group? It's like, I need to be around people that have what I want. Like, I need to be the dumbest person in the room. I was so used to always being the smartest person in the room. I always want to be the dumbest one
Mm.
now. Like, I want to be learning. And like, I would see like you and Danny and Sam, like all at the same table. And you're just like, those guys are legends. And it's like I want to be a legend. Like that was something that was like huge to me. Is like next year when I got to that conference and I saw all you guys and I saw those people on stage, I was like, I'm gonna be on stage. I'm gonna be someone to be like, I'm a force to be reckoned with, and like people are gonna know who I am. Like they may not know me this year, but I guarantee you next year, everybody at Door to Door Con or Knockstars or whoever, they're gonna know who I am because I'm going to stamp my name on it right now because I want to be in that circle. And that was something I worked really hard on all year. It's like I didn't give a shit about how much money I made. I just wanted the golden door. Everyone's like, "How much have you made?" I was like, "I'm 3 sales away from a golden door." Like whatever it was. I'm 22 kilowatts. And like every day, I remember the day I hit it, I was like posting it everywhere. I told my whole team, like, "You track every kilowatt?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I track every kilowatt." Like on my own, like because I know my net. If it's not my net, because like if you didn't go by net, I hit golden door 5 months ago. I went by my net, and when I netted it, I announced it to the world.
That's
And
good.
that was something huge for me, was seeing all those successful people, and they were always in the same group. They're all hanging out together. And I was like, there's something about that. Dave Allred was hanging out with Sam Taggart and so and so and so and so, and they're all the guys on stage. I'm gonna be one of those people. I'm gonna have that same group. I'm gonna have a circle of my own like that one day, and that's in my 10-year plan. But like that meant a lot to me, and it was super inspiring.
Yeah, proximity is power. I actually was mentored by Dave Allred, and he encouraged me to and gave me some pointers on how to start a fund. He started Axia Fund, and I started the American Energy Fund. Like, it's crazy how that proximity right there, that I didn't even know he was starting a fund, and I was like, hey man, like I got this idea, and then I never like even like told him about it, and then all of a sudden he was like, hey man, like I'm starting a fund, and I'm like transitioning, and I was like, what? I was like, bro, we gotta talk, dude. Like, oh my god, this is crazy. I was like, can I help you? And I've
Yeah.
actually I've sent him a bunch. I've sent him a bunch of people to his fund, and they love it. So, yeah, Dave Allred's an awesome human individual. After that, you understood that proximity was power, and you did something about it. You mentioned it earlier in the show. You did something about it. You invested in yourself. Um, you bought into a coaching program. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. I recruited some of my friends that were selling solar in Texas. I had known them from college, and they're like, "Yeah, we're selling solar." Like, finally got them to come work with me, got them to live with me, and they didn't before they'd gotten out here, they had no help. I couldn't coach them every night because I had my own team. So I was like, "Look, there's this Knockstar event. Like, go check it out." Well, they bought into Knockstar United, and then they came to work for me. And at this point in my career, I'm like 3 years in. I feel like I'm the top dog in my company. I don't need to invest in myself. And my friends are paying for Knockstars, and I'm up here, and they're back here, and the train starts going like this, like really quick, and they're catching up to me. And I was like, okay, I got to pay for Knockstars. Like, they're passing me. They moved out of my house, and
Yeah.
I was like, I was just so bought in on Knockstars. I was like, there's just no way these people started 4 months ago, and they're about to put up bigger numbers than me. Like, no, not
Right.
happening. I'm not letting that happen. I live in the same house as them. So I went to the Knockstar event, and I remember going up to Taylor, like handed him my credit card, and I was like, I'm gonna be the number one female solar sales rep. Like, you guys are gonna help me get there, and like that was huge because when we were on the call the other day, they were asking, I don't even know if this was last night on the live or on the call, but they were like, do you feel like you are hitting these deals because of what you're learning in here? Or do you feel like you're hitting these deals because of the proximity of the people around you? And I was like, honestly, I feel like the people I'm around has a lot more to do with what I'm learning than what I'm learning. Because I'm just like constantly in this group where people are putting up high volume numbers, and like you don't want to be the person at the bottom of the leaderboard. I've made relationships with people because of
Yeah.
this group that are going to serve me for the rest of my life. Like I've met so many amazing people that like I want to do life with. Like people that you do business with, you do life with. And like
Correct.
I am so happy. It is the best investment I've made into myself. And believe me, it's not easy to pull your credit card and say, here, swipe it, $20,000, do it. Especially when you've never invested into yourself, to just hand somebody 20 grand when you've never invested a thing in your life into yourself, it's hard. But I just like handed over the card. I saw what it did for other people. I saw living, breathing proof in my house. And I was like, I won't be the idiot that doesn't do it. And how can I expect my guys to invest into themselves if I won't even do it? So this year I really went in on paying to invest into Knockstars, and also like the Solar Academy and Shut the Fluff Up, things like that, getting into recruiting, spending time with Alex Hall, Brandon Hall. I went and spent 4th of July with them, just trying to get around the right people at all times. Instead of going out and partying and doing what I could, it's like, who can I hang out with that has what I want? Who's free to spend time with me? I'll catch a flight. I'll book a flight right now, you know? And that was huge.
I just did a little calculation. You did not in the year you hit the 120 last year. You weren't buying coaching, right? You weren't investing yourself in
No,
just books or whatever.
no. Yep.
So with as of today, because you invested in yourself, and I don't know what the exact ROI is, but it looks like you made about another $250,000 by investing in
Yeah.
yourself. So 20 grand, 10x itself.
It's actually more than that because of like all the recruiting help I've gotten
I
with
know.
Knockstars.
I
So
just did like an
yeah,
easy number,
it's
right?
yeah, but it's wild. It's wild. People just see how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
they're spending. They don't ever look at how much they're going to gain. Like I made back my whole investment in a week.
So okay. So
My
let's slow down. Slow down. What is the difference between Melissa's mindset that understands that it's not a cost but an investment? Why do people not understand that? What's the difference there?
I think people are scared. I think a lot of it is like a scarcity mindset. Like
Hmm.
people like are especially people that didn't grow up with a lot. It's so hard for them to like trust to just hand somebody money that they can fix them, right? Because like you grew up in a hard and tough spot, and like there's never been a situation where you got to go and you were fixed, or you got exactly what you wanted, and like it was exactly what people said it was. But it's like the seeing is believing and believing is seeing type of people. Like for some
Sure.
people, seeing like seeing is believing, so they have to see it to believe it. And I feel like that's how I used to be, but now I'm a believing, like I believe it before I see it. And as long as you can have that conviction to start believing it, that's why I'm a better salesperson. That's why I can sell so much solars. My conviction is so deep. It's so deep. I believe everything I say. I don't second guess it. I'm not like, well, is that true? Does the house value actually go up? Heck yeah, it does. Like things like that. Like I have conviction, and like once you can start believing that and not just like have to see it first, you're gonna go a whole lot farther.
So you think that you have to believe it first to be able to get there? That's a key
Yeah.
distinguisher.
100%. If you don't believe it, you'll never, with anything you do. It's not just sales. With anything you do, if you don't believe it, it will not happen. You need to tell yourself first and you need to believe it. And even if you don't, keep saying it till you believe it. Fake it till you make it type of thing. You just got to keep saying it. You got to keep doing it. I've had people on my team that have come in. I'm telling you, these kids are calling me crying in their car. I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to quit. I don't know. And I was like, dude, you're the shit. And even if you don't believe that, you need to tell yourself that every day until you start to believe it. And even if you feel embarrassed to say it, I want you to say it every day. I only say it 5 times a day. And it's just like any good salesperson. They go to the door, they go, "Oh, they're totally going to do this. They'd be silly to not do this. It's a done deal. They're doing this." You know, I believe that every time. I don't just say it. I believe it. And I've said it so many times that I truly believe it. So like I just feel like that is so important, is to not be someone who has to see it to believe it. I'm not going to invest in that until I see my friend be successful from it. I'm not going to do that until I see so and so. It's like, no, you need to believe it, and so wholeheartedly believe it so you get to see it, because it's a privilege to believe that hard.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably why you do a lot of same day closes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's not a big deal.
You're not the oh, let me go think about it.
What do you need to think about? Did you think about it the whole
Right.
time from when I left your house to the 5 days? No, you didn't. You gave me your
Right.
information, then you went and cooked dinner with your husband. You didn't think about it.
Right.
If I let you think about it, you're going to cancel your appointment. So I'm going to just come back in 30 minutes. I'll let you guys get the kids and whatever you got to do, eat your food. I'll be back in 30. And we'll just go through this, see if this makes sense. If it does, great. If not, great. Ball's in your court.
Wow. Yeah, that's I think it's psychologically in the sales side of it that I think people worry about what they're saying more than the psychological side of it of like, dude, if you're one that's gonna, I learned that actually I think from Grant Cardone. He was like, yeah, if you think about it, if you're like, yeah, give me 3 days to think about this and mull it over, whatever, like you're gonna allow that's the standard. You're gonna allow your clients to do that, and you're actually doing them a disservice by allowing them to wait 5 days and go from 0.99 interest rate to now 4.99 interest rate. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because guess what? They don't have 0.99 interest rates anymore. Sorry.
Yep, they're gone.
You should have got them to sign up right there. They were going to do it anyway.
Yep.
Gone. Bye. 0.99 interest rates, long gone.
Oh, the COVID days.
Made a lot of money in COVID. Gotta love it.
Yeah, I just stuck with the 299 the whole time because I was like, we're gonna lose this anyways. I'm not using this as my crutch.
Hell yeah. Yeah, either way. I mean, I started with 5.99. And I
Yeah,
was like, I
start
sold a
with
lot of
499.
299s too. I never thought it was going to go lower than 299. I was like, I can't believe it with the fact that we have 299 from 399 right now. I was like, 299? Bro, this is free money. What?
Yeah.
And then obviously got lower, and then I was like, there's no way it'll get lower than 1.99. Then I got to 0.99. I was like, there's no way. Right? And then
Yeah.
there was like, yeah, anyway, so tell me, let's shift gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit about some of the books that you're reading right now, or podcasts that you listen to. What are some of the big books that you've read in the last, I don't know, 36 months?
Six Figure Summer, read that twice. First summer I read it, I made six figures, read it with my team again this summer. Atomic Habits, I've read that 3 times. I'm gonna do it my fourth time. I'm like not a I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad twice. I've read The Millionaire Next Door once. I just keep rereading Atomic Habits. Like that has just like been something I'm really trying to implement this year, is like correctly habit stacking. I feel like every time I read that book, I pull something different out of it that I didn't pull before. Um, so that has probably been the most influential book this year in my life, is Atomic Habits. Even though the first time I read it was like 2 years ago, this year I feel like I actually started properly habit stacking and doing
Yeah,
healthy habit stacking
yeah,
and doing the correct things.
yeah. I do the same thing. I'll read the same book over and over and over and over again. Like I don't think that it's very common in Golden Door Award winners that I've interviewed that they'll read the same books over and over and over again. Like we know that there's so many nuggets, and there is a lot of nuggets in Atomic Habits, like a lot of like deep content. So like for you to be like, oh yeah, I read the book, and then like not go revisit it again, you're not reprogramming your mind. You're not. No, you're gonna. No wonder why you're gonna get. You know, you keep failing is because you you can't get out of the original mindsets you had. You got to reprogram your mind with better things. Six Figure Summer. I've never read that one. Is it pretty good?
You never read Six Figure Summer by Adam Webb?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's so he's the CRO of Sunder, but great book. Like he talks about like literally just like being out there past dark, like getting deals, like just like a lot of stuff that people won't do or like hear people doing that he's actually doing and breaking down how he got to a six-figure summer.
Cool.
So that's awesome. And it's not super long, so you can read it in like honestly 3 plane rides, 4 plane
Okay.
rides.
Easy.
So I like that a lot. It's really, really good for summer programs. I feel like pretty much every single person that actually read it this summer made 6 figures this summer.
I love that because it was tangible.
Very tangible. And it wasn't some super long drawn out book. Like it's like this thick, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
And there's just a ton of good content. And the thing that I like is like the guy went out and did it and he's still leading from the front to this day, like
Mm.
running Sunder, which is like an awesome organization. Love
Yeah.
a lot of the Sunder people that are out there. So I
Yeah.
look up to Adam Webb a lot.
Awesome. Cool. Shifting gears here. Let's talk about your one of your biggest passions is helping encourage female entrepreneurs in our space. So why is that important to you?
I mean, it's super important to me just because I came from a company when I first started in this industry that like didn't have girls. So I like very much so felt like the underdog, like we were overlooked, we were like treated differently, like we weren't safe, which was just like a very weird feeling. And I feel like a lot of males in this industry like do not know how to properly lead females. And I feel like I found a niche in this market where I have a massive team of females. 60% of the leadership within the Click Solar organization are females. They all do double digits. They're all absolute killers. And I just think it's really, really important to have girls on your team. But the first thing that comes with that is learning how to properly manage them. And that's something I've really dialed in. And I think I have almost mastered at this point. And it's just been super cool to watch. Like I don't know how many rooms you've been in, Mikey, where you've gone to solar and 50% of the 40, 50 man office is girls. Because that's the case in my office, in my company. My Denver office is 80% girls. Like that's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's just so backwards to what the industry knows. So I feel like we're breaking barriers that a lot of companies aren't breaking or really trying to break. And it's not even like I tried super hard. I did make it a focus. It wasn't my main focus, but I always knew when I had girls on my team, I would treat them a little bit different than how I was treated. And it's served me and brought me a very, very long way. Once you get one good girl, like my first girl, her name was Margaret. I call her a unicorn, which you probably know what a unicorn is. It's like that perfect employee. You're like, oh, and you're lucky if you get one in your life. You're lucky if you get one. And she was my one. And she came in and she was like, I sell art. She was driving, making 32 grand a year. I can only work part time. And I was like, well, we'll see how this goes working part time. Like, pff, whatever. She busted her ass. And her first 6 sets, stickiest appointments, all 6 sat, all 6 sold. And I was just like, I remember walking out of the last house and turning around. She's older than me. And I go, you just want to start closing deals? And she's like, heck yeah. I was like, let's get to the office right now. So instead of like training her the next day, we just go right to the office. We're at the office till like 10, 11 that night, like training her and trained her up. And I just always worked on like being there to support her and like checking in on her and like not just making sure work was going well, but like her outside life, like her relations, her family, her car, her house, her investments, just like really like checking in on all the different levels of life to make sure she was whole. And she started bringing in other awesome girls as well. Like she brought in Tessa, who's now my co-manager, who brought in Karen, who's my setter manager, and they've all brought in and Tessa's brought in Larissa, and I've brought in Kayla, and I've brought in Abby, and Abby's brought in Tori, and Kayla's brought in Jenna. And like these girls start to feel a sense of like worth and safety, like in an industry where there's so much money to be made and they feel like they're in the right room. Girls are attracted to us because they know they're going to be sitting in the right room when they're sitting in a room with 10 people that are not just females, but they're all making 6 figures plus.
Correct. That's so badass, dude. I love that. I love to hear that you're actually taking charge in the industry for other women. I think that's just one of the man. It's a very under leveraged, underutilized major asset in door-to-door sales. And I think you're right. I think it's because the males, unfortunately, they don't see women as a human. A a lot of times they see women as like a burden or like they're slower or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'll put up, my top girl against your top guy any day. And
Yeah.
I'd put big money on that. So I think
Yeah,
that, yeah, I love that. So,
yeah, quick share, but like the coolest thing that just happened this week, I think since starting in solar, I recruited this girl Abby. February 14th she started. On Monday, we went down to Tesla to pick up her first Tesla. She had never done solar. She runs her own office, and she had enough money to go buy a Tesla within 6 months. And that was just like one of the coolest things I've gotten to do yet. I'm still waiting for one of my guys. I've got like 3 people that are looking to buy their first houses this year, and that'll be like the next step up. But that was like one of the coolest things that I've gotten to see yet, being a leader.
yeah, just make sure that and I'm sure you might already have this, but I teach this all the time, is make sure that there's a picture of you and that girl with that Tesla or that girl with that Tesla smiling, super excited about it, and save that in a folder in your phone and a photo album in your phone of I did it, or
Yeah.
don't forget this, because when times get tough, as you know they already have been for you, from 190-day installs to now you're getting actually really quality installs and timely installs, you know, or people leaving you or whatever and saying that just talking crap, which we know that they're not correct when they bring up your name, but definitely it'll definitely help when you see those pictures of what you've accomplished, of those people saying like sold or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever with the
I
house or
definitely
whatnot.
will.
So
Yeah. Yeah, we made a little edit for it too for her and gave it to her. We like vlogged it. My roommate does video,
that's
so we just
cool.
like vlogged the whole thing and sent it over to her for her to keep as well.
I love that. I love that. Well, cool. Tell me, we'll kind of land the plane here. Tell me what your end goal is. What's your end goal, Melissa?
So my end goal is I really where I see myself within the organization I'm in right now is I want to move up to the president of sales. But once I move up into that kind of role, I want to start focusing on consulting, mostly girls in the space, other female leaders. Once my door knocking days are over, I have to retire my mom before that, and then buy her house in Hawaii. So those are going to be my basically like my pinpoints that I'm getting close to where I want to be is once I can retire my mom, get her small house in Hawaii, and I have my Cape house to be closer to my family in the summers. That's kind of the end goal. Is like I still want to stay in Colorado. I always want to be a part of the solar community because it's brought so much and given so much to me. I want to give it all back. And that's why, like, when people reach out to me on Instagram, like, I'm so sorry for bugging you. Like, don't be sorry. Send me your phone number. I'm gonna call you right now, real quick, man. I'm driving home. Like, let me give you some pointers.
Yeah.
I want to give back and I want to help so many people. Like I want to be known as like the girl that like was just like so selfless. Like just helped everybody and anybody regardless of the logo on their shirt. And that's my end game is just to help this industry grow. And I want to see it with way more females. I want to see like more female ran companies. I want to see, more female organizations, and I just wish there was more of that. So that's my end goal is to see that change in the next
I
five
love
to
that.
10 years.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Well, cool. It has been an absolute freaking pleasure talking with you. I can't wait to take a picture with you at OrCon this year with your award. You do deserve 2 of them, so I really appreciate you, Melissa. If there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate. You have my number. Call me. I got you, girl. Thank you so much. I'm freaking. I mean, I've got 3 pages worth of notes right here, so I need to debrief this conversation because I'm like, dude, who believed in Mikey? Like
Yeah.
what do I want to be? Like I have to remind myself as a top performer as well. I got to go back. I'm going to go back to this. What is my net, right? Like I got to go back to this and and get this. So I just appreciate you. So thank you for one.
Thank you for the time, man. I appreciate being on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, how do people find you on your socials? How can they find you? How can the girls that are listening to this find you? How can the guys listening to this find you? How can the top performers find you?
Instagram's the best place. My Instagram's my first and last name, so Melissa, and then there's
Mhm.
four A's at the end, so A, and then a seven. That's how you can find me. I put up a lot of content on my stories. I'm working on more videos to put on my Instagram to help some of you guys out on the doors.
Yep.
And don't ever hesitate to hop in the inbox. I'm always here to help.
Awesome. I love that. Well, cool. Thank you a million. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing your success and your growth. Um, Thank you, Melissa.
I appreciate you, man.